Hello, welcome to Final Whistle Weekly. And wow, what a week it was if you ignore Tuesday night, which I want to, but we're not going to. Anyway, we've got absolutely magnificent history to talk about this week and a great win on Saturday. And then, Tuesday, we'll mention it perhaps. Who said reading is good for you? Reading is good. There's a joke in there somewhere, but I don't know what it is. I'm Mark Griffiths, and I'm delighted to say, making her debut, ex-star striker for Wrexham and co-commentator with the Wrexham's games, Lucy Scott. Lucy, hi, how are you?
Evening, Mark. Yeah, good, thank you. I'm just having a chuckle at your opening joke.
Yeah, it almost worked, didn't it? Nearly. And I'll take that. As good as I get, let's be honest. Yeah, well, we'll get to the full discussion in a moment, but mixed feelings for Wrexham fans, I think, because Sunday and Saturday, great. Tuesday, bit of a dampener. We just have to go on, don't we?
We do. I think that's the story of or the life of a Wrexham fan, isn't it? The highs and lows, and a football fan, but feels like as a Wrexham fan, we've been on the roller coaster for a long time. I think past few seasons in particular, we've enjoyed a lot of success, and hopefully this isn't the beginning of the dip down for too long. Hopefully we can come back up on that roller coaster. So yeah, like you said, it's been a bit of an up and down week.
Yeah, well, I can hear one of my cats calling me, so that means I need to make a break and pay her the attention that she deserves. We'll be back in a moment. This is Final Whistle Weekly. Well, there's only one place to start this week, and that is Cardiff City 1, Wrexham 2. Lucy, I mean, put it into context. This is huge, isn't it? This is historic.
Absolutely, and off the back of the Swansea thrashing, and well, the back-to-back Swansea wins, but the first Swansea win, the thrashing at home, it just felt like commentating. The feeling we had was this is turn now for this team, and when I saw the result, I wasn't surprised at all. That the team won, and watching the highlights back, I just think the team's grown so much in confidence. And really now, when you look at the starting 11, it's a pretty much set 11 at the moment. So they've all gelled and clicked together since January. So, like I said in our last match, in our last commentary, if I was any of the teams in the top four with us, I wouldn't want to play Wrexham right now.
100% correct. Well, we've illustrated that, haven't we, really? Because to win at Cardiff, yeah, who the week before were very impressive away to second place Britain Ferry, we've gone there and we've controlled the match. Times when we're under pressure, we've defended well. And in the latter stages, okay, throughout the whole game, I would argue we confined them to shots from outside the box. But in the latter stages, I would argue the only real time they put sustained pressure on us, we look more likely to score on the break anyway. And I mean, firstly, how good up front are Ava Suckley and Abby Iddenden, who got the goals in the match, but they're terrific. And then to have a player of the caliber of Rosie Hughes to come on, I mean, when a team are taking risks and leaving space at the back, to have a player like Rosie with pace and tenacity to make it difficult for them to not get the ball forwards and also to run into those spaces, and then Nous to know what to do with it as well, which is important. To have those three as our options is part of why we look so dangerous, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think you're completely right. I think Suckley and Iddenden are just such great additions to the team, and along with Craven. So I think I think in previous seasons, leaking goals. I think there were goals that potentially shouldn't have been goals, and not scoring as many goals, particularly since coming up to the Adrian Prem. And I think now that's been solved at both ends. So great shot stopper now, and in Craven, and also the way she commands the box as well. She's coming quite far out, so the defence have got a lot of confidence with her behind. you're completely right. I mean, we've talked a lot in commentary around Suckley hustling all the time. I think it was the third one of the goals against TNS where she put pressure on the keeper,
Yeah.
and then suddenly that led to a tap in for her. A great reward, and I just think her and Idendon as well, both very good footballers with the ball at their feet, very technical players, and I just think they've been linking up really well. And you're completely right. As teams start to tire, take more risks, you suddenly see Rosie come on with her pace.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, well, hang on, one eye on, we need to get a goal back here. But you've got an eye on a ball over the top, so or into Rosie. So yeah, I think you're completely right. And watching the highlights, I did see Rosie hustling as well towards the end of the game, and yeah, I think just those additions in particular, don't get me wrong, they've been great additions all across the squad. But I think for me, the games that I've watched, they've been the real difference at each end of the pitch.
It fascinates me as well. You know, people were being a little critical, I think, as the season wore on, results weren't coming, saying, well, we only brought in 3 players in the summer and we brought nobody in January. But I think that approach has been 100% vindicated because only 2 of those players you mentioned came in at the start of the season, Idendon and Craven. And then the third one, Nat Clark, who I thought absolutely was so authoritative in midfield against TNS, and then followed that up again at Cardiff. You know, they are just quality additions to a side that was developing nicely, and they've been given the chance this season to work and work and work and improved massively. The thing is, and I guess Clark is a big part of the reason why this is, astonishingly, we've lost Liv Fuller and then still won at Swansea and then won at Cardiff. And that's something, because I mean, Fuller is a level above Adran Premier, in my opinion. And the fact that she's not playing in these huge away games has not phased us. We've just gone out there and we've continued to play in the same way to the same levels.
Yeah, and I completely agree with you. I really rate Clark. First few games she was in the back three, and I just thought really solid, tidy player. Positionally, really good as well. And then even just moving forwards into midfield, just it didn't phase her. It didn't really matter where she was playing. You still had the same from her. And yeah, I think you're completely right that even without Fuller, Nat Clark has, I say stepped up, I mean stepped into midfield, and she's been great the past 2 games. And for me as well, I think I've really noticed the players who have been there for the kind of past 4 or 5 seasons have really improved. You look at an Erin Lovett, Katie Sharp, they have all significantly improved when you look at the back line in particular. And I think quite a few, especially the Swansea games, I kept saying Erin's just kept Stacey John Davis quiet the entire time she was really in the game, and that's such testament to Erin. And I just think, well, like you said, a couple of additions, but actually the level of the players in had raised as well. And sometimes teams can take time to gel. We know that, and especially with semi-pro teams, where it's a bit different. I think with a pro team, I think if you're full-time training together, I think level of expectation can be different. When a semi-pro team, you're training a couple of times a week in the gym, once a week, but you are working, you're studying, you're not with the team all the time. I think it can take longer, and I think potentially that's what's happened here, but also having a run now with, other than Fuller, without any major injuries.
Yeah, exactly. So, and injuries are relevant as well. And when you consider what we've achieved, I mean, Nat Clark and Karen Allen have had niggling injuries that have kept him out for chunks of the season. I mean, Allen is clearly not fully fit, and she puts her body on line all the time, and hasn't been able to see out 90 minutes for quite a while. But she still comes back. She starts on Sunday, and it's like, geez, she'll still put in 75 minutes, even though she's getting battered, and even though she's carrying an injury. And then there've been, TJ Dickens, Louisa Doran, both very good players, very important players who showed their quality last season, haven't been able to get on the pitch this season through injury. Phoebe Davis missed the start through injuries, picked up another knock, which means she's coming on off the bench. I'm sure if I applied my mind to this, I could go on. Lily's had the odd match out because teams kick her, because she's good. And yet, despite all of that, we are still in this position where, well, we're third now. It's amazing. And we can realistically look at second place. And between you and I'm sure there's no one else looking. You know, some of Cardiff's football staff were telling me after the match how glad they were that the season didn't start now because of the way we are playing. So, yeah, to do that with all the injuries as well, it's a terrific achievement, I think, and the coaching staff should really be applauded for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the support from the club has increased dramatically since Rob and Ryan have come in. And when you look at the S&C provision, the staff provision, the training time provision, that's all increased dramatically. And I suppose the fruits are being, you can see that now in terms of, I haven't watched any of the games thinking really that we've tired or we don't look very fit, we don't look conditioned. I feel like that's a huge area of improvement as well. So when I talk about some of the players who improved over the past few seasons, that's a huge factor as well. It's obviously there's the natural tiredness of a game, but the team doesn't look unfit. They look really well conditioned now, and you're completely right. It is testament to the coaching staff as well. I think when there's more eyes on the team, which there has been since the takeover, more pressure. You can see on social media, and same for the players. If you lose or play badly, you can see it, you can hear it, and it can affect your confidence. And but also that does work the other way. That when you're playing well, you're winning, confidence is high. So it does swing in roundabouts a bit. But I think the team and the coaching staff have done so well to stay grounded really, and not let either way affect them. There's obviously the psychological advantage side, which absolutely you should take that forwards. But like I said, in the sense of if you haven't played well, it'd be nothing worse than reading comments that tell you haven't played well. I mean, you haven't played well. You don't need to be told. So I just think, up until January would have been quite easy to be like, let's consolidate where we are, see the season out, get to the summer pre-season, start again. But the team absolutely didn't do that, and I think it's absolute testament to the resilience of all the players and the staff. I mean, when you look at someone like a Lily, is she just embodies Wrexham Football Club, doesn't she? But imagine saying to a Lily, listen, Lily, we're going to consolidate now. We'll go again in the summer. That's just not in her DNA. So, and it's brilliant that is across the entire team. And there isn't any, even when matches have been close, there hasn't been any getting on each other's backs. So everything's been so positive and just encouraging each other, and just the mindset. For me, the two biggest strides forwards are conditioning and mindset, I would say. Obviously with a couple of additions, but we just look at an all round just much better team. And
I think it illustrates what we've said quite a bit in commentary as well, that Rob and Ryan's money in a semi-pro world won't really allow you to sign players from higher levels, or there's no higher level in Wales anyway. But what they can do is invest really well in infrastructure. And like you say, Zoe doing the performances, sports science and conditioning, you could see that last season. I've said this before, so listeners, I'm so sorry. But, last season, you could just see us that bedded in. We went from a team on the first day of the season who outplayed Swansea, but conceded an injury time equaliser because we're on our hands and knees for the last 10 minutes, 15 minutes, to a team that's really running all the teams except Cardiff and Swansea into the ground. And apart from the fact that we were playing well, we're not going to, the latter stages, we are then just blowing teams away if we haven't already won it. And that's superb. But then you got Dave Williams. I mean, you look at the quality of goalkeepers we got, Del Morgan as well as Lizzie Craven, and you can see that. I mean, Lizzie's handling as the season's gone on has gone is so impressive. So good coaching in that regard as well. You've got Connor doing the performance management. I'm talking about teaching now. What the hell am I talking about? Doing the data analysis. So jargon just drops out of my mouth, and then I have to pick it up and put it back in. Um, the data analysis. I mean, I know I'm not going to say any more of this because it's not the stuff clubs want to have public. But I'm lucky enough sometimes to get an inkling of what they're up to, or I can see it on the pitch, and we are so well prepared. And then, Josh and Steve as the actual manager and assistants, the work that they do, pulling all of that together and adding their own qualities and ideas. It, it's such an exceptionally well organised backroom staff. Um, Oh, and don't forget Dapo and the physio as well, who always strikes me. I love his professionalism, even though he's such a laid back guy. I've seen games where he's essentially been telling the other side's physio what to do and the ref what to do when something's happened and the players got hurt on the pitch from the other team, which I think tells
All
a
right.
lot about his
Yeah.
professionalism. Well, for example, him demanding the referee stops the game for an opposing player and essentially telling their physio, you should be telling them as well, we're 100% right.
Yeah.
So they're just so good. The backroom staff is so good and strong and professional and modern. You know what I mean? In terms of football, and you can see it in that. Ironically, that modernity turns into something quite old fashioned, where you just bring three players in the summer and then you work on those players, and then by the
Yeah.
end you see such improvements compared to where you were at the start of the season. It's extremely apart from the fact I'm biased, I want Wrexham to win and do well. It's really gratifying to see people doing their job really well and getting the results on the pitch and in the training environment. It's very gratifying to see all that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think for me, I think aspirationally, there's still quite a lot of levels that this could go up as well. So when I know we're talking apples and oranges at the moment, but when you compare the women's game in Wales to England, again, I know we're talking different kettles of fish, but I think when you look over the border, I think there's still a long way to go in terms of the Adrian Premier League, and down the line, should that be restructured? I know they've already done a restructure in the past few seasons, but you would hope with more women and girls teams starting, that at some point there'll be more women's teams to meet the demand, and I just really hope that continues to evolve, and so does the support for all of the women's teams as well, because at the end of the day, it's one football club. It's not the women's club and the men's club. It's all Wrexham Football Club. And wouldn't it be great if one day we got to the place where it was just the stadium, it's not the men's stadium, and the women play somewhere else? And we could go down the grounds maintenance route for a while, but I do know from my managing facilities days that the damage that the women do to the grass is minimal in comparison to a men's game. So I'm hopeful that one day we'll live in a world where that can happen. But we are where we are right now. We've come a long way, which is amazing, and hopefully as well for the rest of the clubs in Wales, everyone can continue to keep growing themselves. But ultimately, I also appreciate not everyone has the same resource and backing right now.
Yeah, and as well, I mean, looking in the medium term, as I understand it, the plan is to have a hybrid pitch, which hopefully will make having more fixtures on it a lot easier. Let's hope so, because it would be absolutely superb. And we have got, I mean, our attendances are the best in Wales anyway, by a comfortable margin. But when we played on the racecourse, obviously that has boosted up it massively again. So it would be great. And I like the Rock, and there's something to be said for having a stadium that fits the attendance that's coming as well. As some fans on last Wrexham were talking with Reading, where it was a good crowd, but it looked bad in a stadium with twice the capacity. But
Yeah,
it'd be nice to have the team in the town as well, wouldn't it? I know some
Yeah, yeah,
fans have come over and been caught out slightly by the fact that we don't play in the town. And it's like, oh God, we better get there quickly and so, find a way to
yeah.
get there on a Sunday. But I need to ask you as well. I've got to say, I mean, some of the players that you played with who are playing now, it must be brilliant to see their performance levels. And I mean, you mentioned Katie Sharp and Erin Lovett, Phoebe Davis, the players, Rebecca Pritchard, players who've been there for a while. Have been, I know the great thing we say about Katie, of course, is that in the she was in the half term football school camps, and and now she's key sort of defender for us.
Yeah.
Has been for a while, but it's just fantastic to see them playing so well in a team at the top end of the top division. Outstanding progress by them.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I look at the current squad, I mean, I played with Katie, Erin, Lily, Rosie, Rebecca. I think Phoebe came in just after. I said I was, let's call it a retirement, because I did pull my quad, so I'll call it an injury, a medical discharge. We'll call it.
Well, I'm going to back you up because I don't even know if I've got a quad. Would it be in an arm, a leg? Who knows?
Yeah, and Amber as well. I mean, Amber and Lily were a bit more in the 19s at that point, and to see their progression and transition into the women's team, it is. It's just brilliant, and almost for young girls watching, not only living in Wrexham local area, to see that that transition and that pathway from, like you said, a half-term camp into the club. At that point, I'm not sure if there was the 19s for Katie to join, but you can go obviously through all of the youth teams into the 19s, into the women's team, and also, let's be honest, the reality of, so the club went, the team went semi-pro, I think the season after I'd finished, and the reality for that is, for a lot of the players, that's a difficult moment, because not everybody made it through either. And so for the players that have, again, that's a compliment and testament to them, and their continued improvement as well, because some players were released, and I know that is the nature of football, not just at Wrexham women, but yeah, to see those players and the way they've improved is, it's just brilliant. And I go back to mindset as well. Like an Erin, for example, her mindset is just, she's like a different player watching her as well, which is brilliant, in terms of control, calm, very just kind of like I say about Katie, but no nonsense defending, and absolutely works. And you can see that from the results. And yeah, I think, like I said, it's just really great to see, and so aspirational and you see at the end of the games, don't you, all of the fans, little girls, they want photos, they want stuff signed, and that must be so surreal as well for Lily, from Lily, who's 19, from Wrexham, and she's thinking this must be a mad world, but they're working hard, and they deserve it, and I really hope they enjoy it for as long as they can.
Oh, absolutely. And you're right, the aspirational element is really important, and in some ways is a reason why the Rock is a good venue. It's accessible in terms of, okay, I know when they play at the racecourse, they'll still spend time with the crowd as well, but it's on a manageable scale. I remember when you used to play in Ponciau, I remember something that really pleased me would see the amount of very young girls who would be there, who clearly had a hero worship relationship with the team. It was something. It's really attainable when you're watching a Wrexham team at a venue like that, with just a metal barrier around the pitch, and they'd be there watching, playing, and then mobbing the players at the end of the game. That sort of aspirational thing has just got to be healthy in every single way. Oh, I'm gonna say it. There was one. I remember one amusing moment we were playing. I think it was a Valinelli and beating them quite heavily. And a player who I won't name, Rosie it was. She 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 did this unbelievable little piece of play where she did well to keep the ball in on the left wing. She's going at high speed, and she somehow, while juggling the ball because it wouldn't sit down for it, and let's be honest, Ponciau's pitch is not Wembley. Um, she she managed to sort of juggle at high speed while beating players and somehow staying in down the wing and then along the goal line and then try to hit a volleyed sort of curved finish, which was impossible. And it sort of flicked the outside of the far post and went behind. My word, it was a magnificent piece of football. But did she turn the air balloon off when that didn't go in? Because she was thinking, I'm going to do the greatest second history of football here. I'm going to complete football. I must have, I was waiting to see, sort of worried parents running to cover their children's ears. It was brilliant. I could also embarrass someone else, and I've decided I definitely mustn't name this person because one of the behind the scenes people with the team was saying to me, Katie Sharp, player of the season. And I think that's a real clear comment on how she's basically gone to the heart of that defence, coinciding with the Cardiff Met disappointment, and has embodied that attitude of okay, we need to fix this now, and she's just no nonsense sorted that. And also, I can't believe I didn't mention Amber, who has been on fire for the last few weeks, really brilliant. But yeah, it's gratifying, isn't it? It's lovely. It's life affirming watching a good team that deserve to do well, doing well. Happy. I enjoy my Sundays. I've got to be honest.
I've actually really enjoyed the women's games far more than the men's games. They've been so exciting. They've been end to end. There's been some good football played. It's, yeah, like you said, really gratifying, and not it maybe it coincides with winning, but also the games have just been really entertaining, and yeah, I've really enjoyed it. I've been looking forward to the Sunday home games.
Yeah. If you're not going to the Rock, dear viewer, why not? You're a fool. No offense. Always a few offend the customers. That's what they say, isn't it? Maybe not. Anyway, you mentioned the men. We'll get on to them next. Let's after this short break. Well, the women's team, unbelievable achievement. Mixed fortunes for the men's team. Good win on Saturday, and then a disappointing sort of empty petrol tank performance on Tuesday. So all in all, we're still right up there. We're level on points with the automatic promotion place, but frustrating that we couldn't get something out of the Reading match. The performance just as frustrating, really, wasn't it, Lucy?
Yeah, I think you're completely right. I think fans are realistic to know we're not. Well, it's unlikely that you would win every single game in a season. But I think what's most disappointing, like you said, Mark, is the performance, and I think the way that we played, and it looked a bit like you found 11 players and just stuck them together and said, go have a game, guys. It just I don't know what I've changed from previous games. And I think, yeah, I think just the performance more than anything. And yeah, I mean, for me, I've thought it for a while in terms of formation, tactics. I think we have some very good players in the squad, but I think at the moment we're not necessarily getting the best out of them based on the style of play. And we're never going to, under current manager, never going to be the most kind of attacking or creative team. That's been very much, I think, clear across his career. But for me, I do think when you look at resource and investment into the men's team, I think along with performance, I just feel like, I mean, I know everyone will say we're in third. Absolutely understand that. And we'd have taken third over 23rd any day. But I do think performance. Yeah, for me, Tuesday in particular, I had it on TV, but I ended up actually doing other things. I was kind of just lost a bit of entertainment, a bit of interest. So I think it's a shame because, like I said, there are some very good players in there, and players like Max Cleworth has developed so much. Like he is, like we talk about development of women's players. I mean, Max's development is phenomenal. Like what a player Max now is. But yeah, I think you went all the way to Reading, so I feel pain for you. That was probably a long drive home. But yeah, I had it from the warmth of my living room.
It was quite warm in Reading. No, actually, it wasn't. It was quite cold in Reading at the start. Yeah, if that's any consolation. No, it's not consolation, is it? Nah, hang on. I'm going to argue here. We are third. It's a fact. We are getting those results. And I would argue, I think a big part of our success has been that tactical continuity and the fact that the teams look well grooved and well coached, and there are familiar passing patterns that we have because of our style of play. And within that overarching strategy, I think there still are tactical alterations which are made so that we don't get predictable. I would argue. I think my concern is just that too often in away games, and home games actually recently, a high press and good movement amongst opposing attacking players has thrown us a bit. We went direct too soon on Tuesday, which is a temptation when you got a striker like Smith who will fight for absolutely everything. But I felt very sorry for him on Tuesday because he really was fighting a lone battle. Rodriguez had to drop off into midfield because we were getting overloaded and outmaneuvered massively in the middle of the pitch. So I agree with you on a lot, but I think the manager, I give that guy a pat on the back. He's done astonishing things and he's got us up this high. And I think we've got to just back
100%. Yeah, 100%. And yeah, you can't argue with back-to-back promotions and getting us to where we are now. I think you're right. I think teams probably have become familiar with the way that we play, especially in this league, because it's first time in the league in a very long time. And but I think you're right. I think the high press has thrown the back line a bit and led to more directs and mistakes. But equally, I do wonder why we don't press either. So we don't do back to teams what teams do to us, really. Or if we do press, really, it's just from the front two. Maybe Rathbone, but I think that's partly due to his kind of nature and his, his, let's say, work ethic. He's just very much of an energizer bunny, isn't he? And so yeah, for me, I feel like we need to adapt now to what teams are also doing to us. To put that pressure on, I think teams sometimes against us, it's quite comfortable, then keep the ball at the back. Whereas as soon as we've got the ball at the back, it feels like that we're inviting that pressure. So yeah, I also think on Tuesday the changes were a bit too late. And again, as I said before, I know I'm not a manager, but my personal preference, or what I've seen over the years when we've actually gone to a back four and gone more attacking, I actually think we've played really well when we've done that. But it's only been once or twice, almost like when we've had to win or we've had to score. Have we seen that? And I think as soon as we went 2-0 down on Tuesday, we had nothing to lose then. I mean, in that formation and playing that way, we weren't going to score 3. So I think at that moment, that would have been the right time to change to, if you're losing 2-0, you may as well lose 3 or 4-0. I know goal difference can come into it later in the season, but at that point, try to change it just to see if we could get back into the game.
I think that when I totally agree. When we switch to 4 at the back, it's remarkable how often we've had success getting back into games with it. Until about halfway through last season, it was remarkable how many times it actually made a genuine
Yeah.
marked difference to the scoreline. And even though it hasn't so much since then, it's been more because we've missed chances than because we failed to energize ourselves. So you're absolutely right. I don't think it's personally something that makes me think we should start with four at the back, because I think it's very much the risk taking approach. Like sending a centre back up front. It's that sort of,
Yeah.
okay, we really are backs to the wall. We've got to do some drastic sort of approach. Um, Although we do have players who would suit that role behind the two strikers, and I quite like how that can look. But I think it's risky because we often do that, and we'll essentially tell one of the fullbacks to still be a wing back. Like Longman, for example, who was superb. I thought when he came on Tuesday, made an enormous
Yeah.
tackle. But I mean, he was not going back to cover because we needed to take huge risks, didn't we? It's I can't help thinking as well. Two things that come into my mind, and this is because I'm just pre-programmed to not overreact, if you like, to either type of result or performance because it's a long season. This part of me thinks teams will lose games, teams will have poor matches and then good matches. That's the nature, unless you've got a squad like Birmingham's. That's the nature of football. A team will get promoted and will lose matches. We lost more games this last season than this and got up. Maybe we're conditioned to by 3 seasons in a row of fighting against Stockport, then Notts County. Um, when you can't afford any drop points, feel like a disaster. We're a bit conditioned to that, but you got a bit more play, if you like, in the football league. So part of me thinks there's a long way to go. Before Reading, there was essentially a quarter of the season left. So we've still got there's a long way to go for all those different teams. And the other thing I can't help thinking about is that was the seventh week in a row where we had a midweek game, and
Mm.
a lot of players just looked like they may have hit the empty tank at the same time. Rathbone was looked bad on Saturday when he came off, and fair play, he was fit to play, but he wasn't as influential as normal, which may partly be because, like I said, we went long too soon. It's hard for midfielders to get into it if they're being bypassed. But I just thought a lot of things added up. Plus, Reading, I thought were good, and all those things added up, and the game got away from us. Um, Saturday was all right, no, wasn't it? I'm desperately trying to be optimistic now. We won on Saturday. I think,
Yeah,
yeah,
Saturday was definitely better.
that's good.
Yeah. And yeah, you're right. To be fair, Reading did play well. They looked a different team, I thought, than when we played them at home. I thought when we played them at home, I thought they were quite poor actually, and I thought they would be better. And I know that they've had a change of manager, and so maybe that's energized them. And I think that was since I think the change of
It
manager's been
was
in between.
since,
Is it?
yeah.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
think the issues there are, you know, I think it's
I
the
know
fact
it's
he knows
bigger
what they've
because
done
the
off the
women's
pitch.
team, and
Yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I mean, Celeste, the previous manager, I think was a miracle worker, considering what
yeah,
was going on, transfer embargo as well. Um, and I think it was inevitable that a team from a higher division would cherry pick him, which is what's happened. And the fact that they've managed to keep overperforming is a huge compliment to them. It's a bit like Peterborough a year behind, in that Peterborough, of course, got this great academy that brings through superb young players. But then Ferguson's admitted that he's sort of doubled down after they did so well last year and lost some of their best players. And this year, he now acknowledges that was a mistake. He should have brought more experience in. Reading feel like Peterborough last year, the young, talented players coming through that are really able to make an impact at this level, and fair play to them. I mean, Bindon was outstanding at the back. He's signed for Forest, doesn't he? And then been loaned back to them for the rest of the season, and he could see it. You just think, wow, that guy's tasty. But
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I mean, Rotherham,
And their second goal,
yeah, that's
I was
class.
just gonna say their
Yeah,
second goal, like that was
yeah,
lovely. Yeah, really nice football, and
absolutely,
they
yeah,
they deserve that goal.
yeah. And it turned into Barnsley away then, didn't it? Where you sort of look all right, and suddenly you're 2 goals down, and you rip at them, and you actually make enough chances to get a point or maybe even three out of it, but you can't convert, that's life. Sometimes I
Yeah,
guess. Rotherham was a win. We've ground out a lot of those sort of ugly 1-0 wins, but that's good. Again, that's how you get promoted. I think Rotherham are not a pleasant team to play against, shall we say. Steve Evans sets his team up to make life difficult, and I was really pleased that we were able to fight and get the points, and maybe playing Rotherham and then another match 3 days later when Rotherham are going to give you a proper physical examination. Maybe that's also a factor as well, that we had to dig deep to make sure that we beat Rotherham, didn't we?
yeah, like you said, Steve Evans's teams are always, like you said, feisty, physical. He's on at the ref, the fourth official about everything, and I think you could see until we scored, their goalkeeper in particular was taking his time, and clearly there for a point. And after that, it was suddenly, he was much quicker getting the ball. And he stopped arguing with the ref, who was telling him to hurry up, and all of that stopped. But yeah, and that is a factor in consideration as well, because probably had a day off Sunday, light training Monday, but then travelling down to Reading, whether we stayed or if we on the day travelled. So, the games are coming thick and fast. But I guess as well, that's why you have the squad size that you've got, and we do have some good players there that could be rotated in as well. So there's a lot of considerations there, I think, at this point in the season as well. And also, we do seem to have had quite a few injuries recently.
Yeah.
When you look at Lee, I mean, some of them haven't been football related, but just seems to have been an unlucky period as well, in terms of Andy Cannon, and at least George Evans has come back now from injury, and it just seems to have been quite unlucky recently with some of the injuries.
Dobson as well, or hopefully be okay for Wickham, because he travelled down to Reading and has been in training, so that's good news. But yeah, that's also true, isn't it? I never realised just what an influence Craig David had on football logistics, because like they had a day off on Sunday, had some light training on Monday, travelled down to Reading on Tuesday, and then I don't know what the rest of the week was. As long as they can. Was there chill on Sunday at the end of that? As long as they can do that, that's okay. I think it was something like that, wasn't it? Or had a protein shake on Sunday, something like that. Yeah, that's life, isn't it? Wickham's big, though, isn't it? I mean, what a huge game that is. Place that we usually find quite grim as well. So it's time for us to turn that around, like we didn't at the Medeski. Still haven't won that there, by the way. But the Wickham match is a big one now, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I mean, is it as blunt or as pressurized as whoever wins that comes second? I mean, it could. Imagine if it's just that
too early
kind of direct shootout. But again, thinking about confidence and psychology and everything, it would be great to come away from there with a win, because again, that would we'd leapfrog them, wouldn't we? And then suddenly we're putting the pressure back onto them, and just got to have a good run in ourselves. So it's not a nice or an easy place to go, but I suppose most teams now in the league aren't. And if I was Phil Parkinson, I would want to see a reaction now after Tuesday. But again, it's the third match in 7 days, but equally it's the same for everyone, I suppose, as well, isn't it?
Wickham didn't play on Tuesday.
Did Wickham not play? So it's not the same for everyone.
Although the optimist in me says Wickham's game in hand is next Tuesday away to Rotherham. So, that might be a bit of a test for them. We can put them under pressure on Saturday anyway. That's the most important thing, isn't it? I forgot to tell you, I've got a weird story to tell.
Uncle Griff's bedtime stories.
At Reading on Tuesday, I can't believe this happened. I left the ground, and the media entrance is the players' entrance, and there were people hanging around for selfies and autographs and stuff. And I walked off, and I could hear some kids shouting, and I didn't think much of it. And as I walked down the road, I continued to hear these kids shouting. That's it seems to be coming closer. And I turned around, and these kids were running after me, shouting, "Commentator, commentator!" And I was like, not in that. I don't know why I put a Yorkshire accent on. Commentator, we're in Berkshire. That's more clear. Sorry. So I thought, hello. And they said, "Oh, we've seen you on Welcome to Wrexham," they said. "Can we have selfies?" I thought, "Oh, well, fair enough." They're Reading fans. And I was like, "Yeah, well, yeah, go on, if you want them. Yeah, of course." And then one lad said, "Sign my shirt." And I thought, "Really?" And his dad was there. And his dad also went, "Really?" But yeah, please. So I have signed a Reading shirt. That's the point. There's a signed Reading shirt with my signature on it. Now, unless he's going to steal my identity, in which case he's got every reason to do it. I just find
That
that
might be worth.
So
Must be worth maybe £1 or
exactly. There,
£2.
I've devalued that shirt so much by writing on it. How weird! I've signed a Reading shirt. I can't get that out of my head. How peculiar.
I really hope this becomes an away day craze now.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
The fans will be, "Oi, commentator!" Oh, hang on. Yeah, that's more the accent there. "Oi,
Yeah.
commentator, get down here right now." That's not a Wickham accent at all, is that? That's Orient. Orient and Dagenham will do that, won't they?
Yeah.
Uncle Griff's bedtime stories.
The other thing I need to say, a warning to away fans, is that I was thinking before we went to Reading, in the good old days when we went to a place like Reading and Wickham, they're the two worst car parks to get out of after a football match. They're horrible to get out of. And normally I'm not touched by these things because by the time I've packed up and everything, the traffic has gone. Reading hadn't. It wasn't too bad compared to previously when I've been there, but there was still traffic. Wickham is similar. These like new build grounds on the edge of town where there's one exit from the car park and you get a 5-figure crowd. You've got a situation on your hands. So yeah. If you're traveling down there, guys, take a good book.
Don't drive.
Yeah, don't drive. Yeah, walk it. Well, hang on. How long is it going to take to walk? Let's have a look. If you have to walk from Wrexham to Wickham, that's a top tip. But after too late. Wickham
I think you need to leave tomorrow.
Oh, let's have a look. 2 days. Yeah, it's
2 days. Too late.
Oh, 2 days and 6 hours. So, all right, this goes out Thursday, Fridays. Oh, heck no, too late. Takes 8.5 by public transport, so walking is fairly attractive. Oh, hold on. I'm such a fool. 15 hours, 49 minutes by bike. There are steep hills. Okay. There's also stairs, apparently. Okay, there's stairs by Wolverhampton. You can ride your bike up some stairs by Wolverhampton. I like it's on Google. Google Maps is great, isn't it? So
if you had an e-bike.
Oh, there's a point. Yeah, but you need a square front wheel, wouldn't you, to get up the stairs? There's some stairs by Wolverhampton Racecourse if anyone's thinking about doing this. Yeah, and there's another set somewhere on the route. I'm starting to feel now like I've gone slightly off. Oh, actually, I have found it. Dunstall Hill has got stairs by a car park. So if you choose, it's on a nice national cycle route as well with stairs. Really? This is the best podcast I've ever done. It's by a lock, by a canal. There. Okay, everyone. So get your bike helmets on. Pop down to Wickham. You won't regret it. Pick up a chair while you're there. It's an upholstery town, isn't it? That's what they're called, the chair boys, aren't they? Because their traditional thing is to make chairs. Like Northampton's the Glovers, because they used to make like leather goods and gloves. No, they're not. Yeovil are the Glovers. Northampton, the cobblers used to make shoes in Northampton. And so yeah, they're the chair boys, which seems like a really convoluted nickname to me, but what can I do? Anyway, I think we better drop this because I have a funny feeling that my mind has wandered away from the men's team to interesting jobs that football teams are named after. But let's have a chat after this about you, Lucy. Let's get the back. Let's get the dirt. Come on, guys. If you never mind stealing my identity after this, you'll have enough info for Lucy to have exclusive access to all their bank accounts. No problem. Well, I mean, I'm lucky enough to have had Lucy commentating with me on Sundays, and we know each other from before then, from you commentating on the men's team, and indeed from you being in my football team in St. Joseph's when I was a teacher, and you were a first year, and they wouldn't let you play after the first year, I don't think, because of insurance, which was madness because, and I'm not just saying this to be flattering, I'm saying it because it was 100% true. You were by far the best team player in that team. And I don't know if I ever said this to you, but I always just have a lot of sympathy for you because, how can I put this? God bless them. They had lots of heart, but most of them certainly didn't give the impression they'd ever played in a football team. And the number of times you would make intelligent movements and then the ball wouldn't come to you because nobody knew what you were doing was constant. You were a quality player, Lucy, but well, you proved it anyway because you went on. You played for Wrexham as well. So I was thinking when you were talking before about the advances, a very different setup there, but no different in terms of the caliber of people around the team.
No, exactly. I mean, so when I first joined Wrexham, it was just as the takeover was happening. So I would say, you know, there were some, I suppose, short-term quick wins that happened, but clearly looking to date the past kind of few years, there's clearly been a strategy as well in terms of the improvements, like you said before, infrastructure. But straight away in that first season, like S&C sessions were implemented straight away, which was a great addition, and so was analysis sessions as well. On Thursday evening, we'd all get together on Zoom and review previous matches or games that were coming up, and which, you know, was really helpful. But I think at that point, a challenge was a lot of players hadn't done that before. So in terms of, I suppose, footballing intelligence that, you know, you would learn tactically from, I suppose, scenarios like that. And in terms of analysis, you know, we were still a way behind, which again, now you're looking a few years later, some of the players are still there, some have gone, and you can clearly see the improvement and a clear philosophy as well coming through now in terms of how the women are trying to play. And so yeah, I look back and I think, you know, at that point we were training at Colliers, play games at Colliers. Even at that point, again, I guess it was a bit of the Rob and Ryan hype in that we're probably getting 100 people watching at that point, and which is great at a Colliers where, like you were saying before, you don't want to be somewhere where it feels, you know, you're in a massive stadium and you can't, you know, you're kind of drowned out by the vacuum or the echo. So at that point, you know, it was nice having what looked like a big crowd, and playing and training there. And it was actually, so I was there for 2 seasons. It was the season after that they moved to Ponciau. So I didn't have the pleasure of Ponciau, just the 3G of Colliers, which you know is a lovely facility to play and train at. And
you've just given me the title of the podcast, "The Pleasure of Ponciau." I think I've got it. Thank you very much. Sorry, carry on. I need to write that down quickly. Sorry, go on.
Okay. But yeah, it was just a really good process to go through, a really great time to be part of the club. And I mean, prior to that, I'd obviously been part of the club anyway as part of the media team. So this kind of was my step into a different part of the club. And having been a Wrexham fan my whole life, so my dad always taught me and my sister that it's hometown team first. I won't say our Premier League team because they are doing dreadfully, but they are a red team in Manchester.
At least they're building a big circus tent for you, apparently.
Which is very apt for the moment. But yeah, always hometown team first. So we've been there since we were tiny, and in the days where it was a couple of thousand fans, and part of the media team, I actually had the pleasure of during lockdown leading the live stream, which was something I'd never done before. Obviously, I'd done some summarising with yourself and social media and different things as part of the media team. But gosh, that was, I can't describe it when you're pretty much told you're going live in 5 seconds. There's a man stood in front of you with a camera and a light, and that's it. And you're just talking into this camera. And I mean, it's a good experience. I wouldn't say I particularly enjoyed it, and in the sense of I'd just never done it before. And I think in lockdown as well, with the world changing so much and us moving into more of a virtual world, it was definitely an experience. And it was kind of coming out of lockdown that I'd been approached to play for the women a few times before, and I'd kind of always said, I shouldn't, because at that point I was running Colliers and I thought it would be seen as a conflict. But coming out of lockdown, I just kind of thought, why not? And yeah, that's how I ended up playing for the women. And I actually came in under a different manager. Then we had a manager in the middle, and then the manager became Steve. So even within my kind of short period of time, we had 3 different managers, and I think it's really good that Steve's been given that opportunity to develop himself as well, because at that point, again, under previous managers, he was an assistant. I think he's really grown into the role as well, and you can see that more and more in his own interviews, how much more confident he's become. And nobody's perfect, so everyone's learning. We're all learning as we go, and and football, whether it's men's or women's football, it can be quite fickle, and it is results based. And sometimes, you think managers aren't given long enough. So I'm really glad, and this season's proven that with the women. You look at the second half, and after the first half wasn't the best start actually, but look at how strongly they're finishing. So, but yeah, and like with anything, obviously each season you go through the retained list and who's going to be released, etc. And I know for Steve and the staff, there've been some tough decisions over the years, and but that's football, and working in football. That was a statement that was always said to me a lot. If I was frustrated with something, it was almost, well, that's football, and that that is football. And but no, I look back on that time fondly, and I really enjoyed it. And I know some other players from the team at that time as well have gone on to play football at different clubs as well, some across North Wales, some over the border, which is great that they're still involved in the game. And I'm just trying to think some of the places that we went to play across mid Wales. I mean, you go to, is it Llanfair, where you see the steam train in the not too far away, just passing by. And some of the places were, you played on a variety of different pitches.
You scored at Llanfair, didn't you?
I did score at Llanfair, yeah.
Nice.
It was a great corner in from TJ. And I remember that our regular corner, I think before that, literally that match we changed our free kick, our set piece takers, and I'd said, look, it should be TJ. TJ's got a great strike on her, and this first corner she lofted one in, and everyone else was kind of stood looking at it, and I just kind of followed it in, ran around everyone, and just kind of volleyed it home, only from about 5 yards out. But yeah, no, I remember that goal. Really well.
You're the mastermind behind it as well as executing it. That's brilliant.
I was sending telepathic thoughts to TJ where to put that ball, and Yeah, scored there. Scored at home as well. Played a couple of games for the 19s as well especially when I was kind of in and out because of injury, and loved playing under Gaz. Gaz is not only a great person but a great manager as well. Gaz he's worked wonders with the 19s, and it's great to see him back as well. Seeing him at the women's games, and I think he's doing a bit with the 19s again, but it's such a good manager. Just how he set the 19s up was just at the time, it was just so good. So yeah, but no, I really enjoyed my time, and I think when it's for, like I said, your childhood club, it just feels even better.
I mean, Gazzy's and Gareth Owen, a great guy, like you said, great player for Wrexham as well, and then of course Gemma Owen. I mean, put into context, the job she's done for the women's side of the club, which until 2018 wasn't incorporated into the club, even though it was sort of running parallel, is astonishing, isn't it, really?
Oh, I mean, massively. And it's not an easy job to do, because ultimately you're never going to make everybody happy. But I was always told really early in my own career that if you're making everyone happy, you're not doing your job well or right.
Yeah.
And it's not an easy position to be in. But Gemma, for me, Gemma and Gaz are Wrexham Football Club. When you talk about people who embody the club, and I know Gemma's role has, over the years has transitioned into the role that she's in now, which is absolutely the role that Gemma should be. And a phenomenal job that she's done as well, because like I said, I'm sure at times it's not the easiest role to be in, but especially when you see the results that the women in particular have had recently, it must be like the cherry on the cake. And I always see Gemma posting about, great to see this player from the 19, she's now on the bench for the women, and you just think that's absolutely what we want to see, the pathway, or all the way up, and also that opportunity is there. If you're in the 19s, that day will hopefully come for you as well. So but yeah, both of them are Wrexham Football Club.
Well, Gemma, I mean, the highest compliments I can pay her, and it's sincere, is that she is the women's setups Geraint Parry. And that is the biggest compliment I could think of to give absolutely anybody, I'm telling you. I mean, it must have been strange as well for you. Well, not strange isn't the right word, but the trouble is you're in competition with Rosie Hughes for a place at that team. It's Rosie's first season for us as well. Of course, she's scoring goals, hand over fist, absolute phenomenon. Must have been sort of brilliant to see her play like that, but also it kind of restricts your opportunities to an extent.
Yeah, and coming in, I think I was 35 at the time, so we like to think we can run forever and at the same speed and pace forever, and unfortunately, for me, there's and the formation we were playing at that point was more of a 4-4-1-1 as well, so a lone striker with a player off, and I think coming in at 35, and I think probably based on my experience, like you said before, almost football intelligence, I was played more in midfield, to be honest, which from a legs perspective probably wasn't the best, but from I like having the ball at my feet and playing into people and ball on the ground, and I've never been a player who is going in for crunching tackles or winning a lot of balls in the air. I like the ball on the ground, and but like you said, when you're part of a team and part of a squad, you want the best for the whole team and squad. So I played wherever I was asked to play. Sometimes it would have been up front, but more from midfield, or more from the bench in terms of trying to make an impact, or it's unfortunate timing in one sense, but equally, when you've got a player like Rosie and you're just skipping past defenders because of her pace, especially at that point we were in the league below as well. And when you look at I suppose as a comparison, teams aren't semi-pro in the league below. So in terms of how much other teams are training and fitness, etc., not the same as they are Grand Prem. So there was just so much more success there as well in the way that we were playing. But yeah, so that's why I never played in midfield previous to Wrexham, but that's why I found myself in midfield more.
But a player like Rosie up front, her movement is so good. It must be nice for a midfielder who'll get their head up. She'll make those runs for you, make it easy for you to hit her. So looking at her now.
Yeah, definitely, and there was there was a lot of space and a lot of I suppose like you said, a lot of balls to hit, a lot of opportunity in front as well. And when I look at the midfield back then, it was TJ, it was Kim Dutton, and I suppose when you've just got a two in the middle playing as well, because we were using towards the end, Amber was a winger coming through the 19s, Rebecca Pritchard. So when you look at and in defence, Erin, I think Dell was in goal. So we had a Katie Sharp. So there were quite a few of that starting 11 who are still involved now. So there was a good core that was being built there. Really, the spine of the team, really.
And I've got to ask you finally as well. Like you said, Wrexham, playing for Wrexham was great. It's your team. Wow, you have a prestigious lineage, to be fair. Your dad played a terrific role for the club for many years. And I've got to make a confession here. I did not realise that the guy who, when I was a kid, was the one celebrity Wrexham fan is your uncle. I never realised that at all. That completely passed me by. I only found it out about 6 months ago. But I didn't know. So, but it must be, they must have been so proud to see you playing, and they must be so proud now to see you continuing to contribute to your club, their club.
Well, firstly, I'd say, did you not realise it was my dad's face, but with long hair? For me, maybe because I've known them my whole life. I just think they look so alike. And and it was always Dad who was pushing for me to, and my sister as well. My sister did some work for the club earlier in her own career as well. While she was at university, she would work in the club shop and helping with hospitality and the retail side. And so, it was always Dad kind of pushing in terms of the media team and then playing for Wrexham. So I think they were really proud. And Dad would always come watch me play anyway, whether it was football, tennis, he when I look back, his commitment and passion for the club, he used to volunteer with the Supporters Trust to start with before becoming commercial manager. And I look back and I just think, gosh, he gave so much to his own childhood club as well. And that's where I think in football in particular, people don't have jobs necessarily. They have passions and they're working in their passions. And yes, you're paid for it, but that's why I think in football so many people go above and beyond because they just love the club. And that was my dad when he was in role, and he just had such a great rapport and relationship with all of the staff, all of the sponsors, even now. So he sits next to me. We've got season tickets, and the number of people coming up and down the stairs who work for the club or sponsors, or they're just coming to chat to him all the time, just because he's very much a people person, and it's about the person first. And people just felt so appreciated and valued by him. And I think to see, even when I told him recently that I was coming back to commentate the women's games, delighted. He listens into the I suppose the sound bites. He'll listen to this podcast, and
wise man.
And he again, we talk about someone who's Wrexham Football Club through and through, and my dad is, and also Andrew. He gets back to as many games as he can as well, and you know, when the club was going through financial difficulty, played a concert at the William Aston Hall to fundraise. He December 23 opened his UK tour in Wrexham at William Aston Hall, and for the last song, all the band came on in Wrexham shirts, which the crowd went wild for. So it's just in our DNA.
Yeah, exactly. And just to clarify, if anyone doesn't realise, of course, your uncle, glam rock drummer. I mean, that is a lovely profession to have, I would argue.
Well, he was the lead guitarist.
Oh, beg your pardon.
So,
Why do I think?
Yeah.
See, shows how ignorant I am, doesn't it?
So he's glam rock lead guitarist. So he is the only surviving member of the band. So for any international fans watching or listening, so the band's The Sweet, and they still tour. They've been to Australia recently, Germany, Sweden, doing a UK tour. So yeah, it's still. I'm pretty sure when I saw a stat a few years ago about how many tour dates Beyonce had done in a year, and everyone was like, "Wow, that's incredible." Andrew and The Sweet had done more, so they're touring a lot. But again, they love it. It's what, you know, talk about passion. Yes, it's a paid role, but they just love performing.
Oh, that is absolutely super. It really is. Sorry. It's and they were a big band as well. They were major. I remember when I was a kid seeing a picture of him at QPR. He'd gone to watch Wrexham play at QPR, and everybody was excited. It's like great. We have some celebrity fans now, I believe, but I can't grasp what their names are. I think.
I'm not sure.
No. Tim Vincent, of course.
Yeah.
Paul Burrell.
Big name.
He's been in the jungle.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. So you can't argue with that, can you? Nice
Can't
one.
argue with that, no.
Well, Lucy, can I just say thank you so much for joining me today? It has been an absolute pleasure to catch up with you, and an absolute pleasure to not only get your take on the teams, but also on your memories of playing for the team, and your family as well. Please wish them all the best from me. But
thanks for having me.
Oh gosh, it was a pleasure. So well, everyone, remember, get in your bikes, get down to Wickham. You've just about got enough time to get there before the match. This was Final Whistle Weekly.